This video is all dedicated to understand how your menstrual cycle works in order for you to know your body, either if you are planning a pregnancy or just if you want to know how your body works in general every month. Let's go into the video now. Hi everybody and welcome to my channel. My name is Ilenia and I've been a midwife for the past 6+ years, helping women all over the world during their pregnancy, birth and postpartum journey. I currently live and work in the United Kingdom. This video is for everybody. It's really for you to understand how your own body works so you can enhance your chance of getting pregnant if you're trying to do so, but just simply to really understand if there is something going off from your normal well-being, and you can do so just if you know how your body works in general. So I find so surprising how so many women don't really know how to recognize their menstrual cycle clues, and they don't know what happens into their bodies in the month of their menstrual cycle. The female menstrual cycle lasts usually anything between 28 to 35 days. How do you count it? The first day of your menstrual cycle is the first day of your menstrual period. And by that, I mean that you don't have to count the day where you have a bit of pinkish discharge or brown discharge, but your actual day of red flow. That's your first day of your cycle. And then the last day of your cycle is the day before your next period. Okay, so that time frame in between is your menstrual cycle length, and as I said, like usually it's between 28 to 35 days, but everyone is different. We are so different from one to another, so it is normal maybe for you to have a shorter period or maybe a longer one once you know that that's your normality for you. That's very important. However, the range usually varies between 28 to 35 days. The menstrual cycle can be divided in two phases, a follicular phase and a luteinic phase. Usually, roughly, it is split in half. So if you have a 28-day cycle, 14 days will be the first half and then the other 14 days will be the second half. However, usually the first phase, the follicular phase, can vary and it can be up to 3 weeks, while the second phase usually it's quite more steady. So if you track back from your first day of the period, if you track back 15 days, then that would be your luteinic phase. And if you count 15 days back, then that day it is probably likely to be your ovulation day. We're gonna go into more details about that in a second. So what happens usually in your body in these two different phases? Now, in the first half of your cycle, you're probably gonna be way more full of energy, your skin is gonna be better due to the estrogens. You're gonna feel more energetic and more ready to do things, where usually in the second half of the cycle your mood is a little bit more down, you feel less attractive, and this is all due to the hormones that are doing their job in order for your body to get pregnant. Basically, the menstrual cycle is trying to do that regardless if you're trying to look for a pregnancy or not. Why there is this change in mood, hormones, and other so many things that we're gonna see into this video? This is because your body is trying to ovulate in the middle of your cycle. By ovulate, I mean that your ovary, one each time, they take turns every month, your ovary is gonna produce an egg and release the egg. This egg is gonna capture into your fallopian tube and transported into your uterus. Therefore, if you have timed, unprotected intercourses, then there might be a possibility that you get pregnant. Otherwise, the egg just falls, is not used, and then another cycle begins. So if you're trying to conceive, this is a very fundamental information to know and to hold on to, because if you have random intercourses because you're trying to get pregnant but you don't get the fertile window, then it's gonna be all worth nothing because you're never actually gonna get the right moment in order to get pregnant. In fact, the egg has a very short life. We're talking about 12 hours, maybe 24. That's all the egg lasts. However, on the contrary, sperm can last up to even 5 days. Usually it's 3 days, but it can be found also up to 5 days after the intercourse. Therefore, if you're looking for a pregnancy, we suggest you to have unprotected intercourses 5 days before your ovulation date. So 5 days including your ovulation day. In this way, you're gonna maximize your chance of becoming pregnant. However, if you don't know when you ovulate, then it's gonna be very hard to understand when to have these intercourses, and you might just end up having random intercourses with no effects, and you might think that there are problems with your partner, while really just simply a timing problem. How do you know when you ovulate then? Well, that's why it is so important to know your cycle and to be able to understand when this event happens into your body. Usually it is connected to different changes that happen into your body. First of all, yes, your mood might change, as I was saying before. Also, your breast might change. You might be way more sensible into your nipples. But a very important change that usually happens in a lot of the women is the change that your cervical mucus goes under. Your cervical mucus is protected by your cervix, which is that cylinder that is at the bottom of your uterus, and that it is closed in order to protect the uterus from bacteria and infection. But during the ovulation, opens a tiny bit in order for the sperm to get through and to get to the egg. So during ovulation day, it is normal to find a mucus that is like, we say is like egg white, because it is transparent and it's gluey like. It can kind of stick into your fingers and be stretched. I know it can be quite yucky, but it just gives you an idea. When you see that kind of mucus, it might indicate that your ovulation is happening or is very, very near. While if your mucus is kind of white and creamy, then usually means you're in the first half of your menstrual cycle. Other women experience cramps in their back when they're ovulating, or maybe pain in one of the ovary, like a little sharp pain that happens when you ovulate. Everyone is different. But if you have very regular cycles, if you have PCOS, or if you really have no clue what's happening to your body, then there are things that you can do in order to understand when you're ovulating. The first simple one is by tracking your basal temperature. This consists in checking your sublingual temperature every day and take note of it, or into the vagina, doesn't matter. And you're gonna start to see a graph, and your temperature is gonna slightly increase during your ovulation day. That might be a very simply and effective and cheap way to understand if you're ovulating. Another way to know when you're ovulating is by starting to track your cycle and your ovulation by using ovulation sticks. These sticks are identical to the pregnancy test sticks. I mean, they can be digital or just the manual one that with the 2 lines. And you can start to use them when your period stops. Every day, every morning, you dip this stick into a urine sample that you do, and you start to see the control line, that it becomes nice and strong. But then the test line, which is the other line, is gonna start to slowly appear as the days gets closer to the ovulation, until the ovulation day, where it's gonna be at its darkest. This because the test picks up an hormone that is called the LH. That is the hormone that is triggered when there is ovulation. So usually when this hormone is at its peak, it means that your ovulation is very, very close, if not happening. So it might be a way to you to have fun and to try to understand if the symptoms that you're experiencing are actually linked to the ovulation. However, as I was saying before, every woman is different, so for some women it might not be enough in order to look for a pregnancy. But it's something to consider if you just want to know what's happening to your body, and if you want an indication into when you ovulate or if you ovulate. Another way that you can use to know your body and track your cycle is by using an app. I use an app, I've been using it for so many years now, that is called Flow, and it's very cute because you can upload your data, your symptoms, your condition, like if there is anything happening to your life in that moment. And the app really tracks your cycle, it tells you your average, it tells you if there is anything going off to normal. So it's very nice to have, because you can look back in years and knowing how your cycle has been doing in the past years, so regardless if you're planning a pregnancy or not. Now the app is also gonna kind of predict your ovulation day. Don't trust that either if you're looking for a pregnancy, even less if you're actually trying to avoid a pregnancy, because it's not accurate. It's just a mathematical thing that the app does in order to let you have an idea when you might be ovulating. And although after the years, in my case, has been quite accurate because my cycle is quite regular and I know when I ovulate, so I can see that the app is doing quite a good job in predicting that. Don't rely on that if you're looking for a pregnancy or if you're trying to avoid a pregnancy, because it's definitely not accurate. However, it's definitely something into invest because it's absolutely free and it is good for you to understand your body and to understand what's normal for you and what's happening. Every app is the same, so I use that one and I like it and I'm not gonna change now. But if you have another one that you've been using, that's absolutely fine. Make sure that you stick with one so you can store your data also for the months to come, and it can be handy, something very handy to have and to look back to if you spot that something is not going in the right direction or there is something not normal into your body. That can be quite an aid to have to use together with your own perception of your body. That's very, very important. So if you are looking for a pregnancy and you have no clue when you're ovulating and you've been using the sticks, the basal temperature, the app, and you still don't know, it is quite safe to say that if you have intercourses unprotected with consent, and after your period finishes up to 15 days after, then you're gonna somehow get your ovulation day. This is providing that you're actually ovulating, because if there is another condition that prevents you from ovulating, then it doesn't matter how good you get your ovulation day when there is no ovulation day. But if you are ovulating, then you're more likely to kind of get the fertile window in this way. There is no indication in terms of how many intercourses you should have. Some people say every day, other people say every other day. Providing that the sperm kind of lives up to 3 days, it is quite safe to say that every 3 days is fine. However, the more, the better. The more intercourses you have, the higher your chance to get your ovulation day with the most sperm available at the highest quality. That's all for this video. I hope that it gave you an idea in order to understand how your beautiful menstrual cycle works every month, either if you're trying to get pregnant or just if you want to have a better awareness of your body. If you have not done so already, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next video. Bye bye!